Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. We're at the spot, the location, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, the responses are never dull, and the postcard is bent. Stuff happens. That means I've been using it a lot. Today, our guest is Sallie Wagner. Let me tell you, this lady is full. Yes, she is. She's an author. She's a speaker, an attorney, works in real estate, and a life alchemist. I told her, I said, I don't know how you have time to breathe or get a workout in. But she says that it all works together for the good. And we're going to hear about that and her stories and even get some inspiration on how we might be able to mold, mentor, edit, shift, and filter our lifestyle so that we can incorporate a few more things too. Let's welcome her to the edge. How are you, Sallie Wagner?
Fabulous. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here today.
Likewise. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. I always love the brightest stars in the universe. That makes me feel good. It makes me get smart too and heady. Tell us a little bit about your story and your journey and how you show up in the world.
So I like to say I took the scenic route. When I was in college, I started out as a physics major, and then I ended up in theology. So it was kind of physics to metaphysics. And that was going to be the trajectory. I was planning higher degrees and teaching positions and all those kinds of things. And then I got distracted. I went to law school. I did all those things that we're supposed to do, that we should do. And yet I still maintained that passion for the cutting edge of physics and the mystical spiritual nature of reality, because I think ultimately it's all the same. And finally I couldn't resist the call anymore, and it is a calling, I think. And I just woke up one day and said, is this all there is? There's got to be more than this. And so I followed that passion and I got into the life coaching part of my business.
Well, now I like to keep it 100 with my brains. I ask questions that they may be asking.
Okay.
An extremely lucrative career as an attorney. A lot of opportunities as a woman in real estate. But you opted to take a more risky, for the lack of a better word, road and deal in the metaphysical. Some people would say, you know what? That's hoo-hoo. That's not, that's not real. That's not tangible. How is she going to continue to thrive with that? You got those talking heads in the background.
Sure.
What would you say to those individuals about the path that you chose to take?
I would say that each of us has our own path. I'm sure the brains know this, right? And when we find the path that makes us come alive, everything is better. So I still have businesses on the law and real estate side of things, and they have just grown and continue to grow along with my coaching. And I am a much better person, I believe, because I followed that path that was calling to me and that I had denied for such a long time.
Well, you know what? I get goosebumps. You should see my arms, because I'm with you. It's not about the religious doctrine. I'm not knocking anybody for doing that, but I'm trying to take it one step beyond, and that is the quantum level. That is the metaphysical level. If you believe what your text tells you, our God and creator is spirit, not female, not male. They are spirit, which is energy matter.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
To connect in that and to be able to receive that and process that, that's a heavy load. When you came into yourself and you found that and you had that wow moment, what did you do? Did you have to sit down and have a cocktail, or What
Well,
happened?
it was a wow moment. It
Yeah.
was coming to and I'll say in the vernacular, it was that come to Jesus moment,
Yes.
where it's like you gotta either live what you say you believe, or you're a fraud.
Mm.
And so as I started to live it every single day, and every single moment of every single day, everything changes. And you mentioned the energy of the creation. Science tells us that everything, they used to say matter and energy, but now they just say energy, because it turns out that matter is energy. It's just
Mm.
moving at a different frequency. And as we understand that, we can truly understand our nature as spiritual beings. It's T.R. Desjardins said, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
And when we truly grasp that, we understand that our entire life is a sacrament.
It is. So coaching, you're in this coaching field now,
Yes.
and everybody's not going to be your client, Sallie, because everybody's not ready for this transformation.
Right.
They don't get it. And it's okay, brains. You get it when you get it. Let's
Yeah.
just hope you get it. Okay. Because to me, I see us traveling through this lunar vortex. I see us traveling through this portal, and it seems like the portal is getting smaller and getting tighter. The whole universal alignment is changing. Did you see those pictures that they had taken from that telescope out in space?
Yes.
It
Yes.
blew my mind. I was like,
Yeah.
wow. But what it did do also, it reminded me of a meditation that I had. And I have these psychedelic meditations. And no, I'm not on ayahuasca, brains. But I do, I get into these, I see colors that I've never seen before. I get downloads that I don't know how to process. It's just a lot. How do you manage all of that? Because those downloads are heavy. I had to ask God, I said, can you slow them down and give them to me in bite-sized pieces? You
Mm.
know, I don't know
Yeah.
if I have the capacity to handle it and do what needs to be done. How do you
Yeah.
feel?
I agree. There is a lot there, and we can kind of open ourselves up to how the information comes. It can come in a flash of insight, like some kind of epiphany. It can come in dreams. It can come in everyday occurrences, and so part of that is just to prepare ourselves to be receptive to the messages that come, and know that with the message comes the understanding and the ability to implement it however we need to implement it in our lives.
How do you continue to stay sharp? Who pours into you?
Oh golly, I have daily practices that I do to connect to source, to spirit, to energy. I do some techniques with EFT and NLP to get my energies in alignment, to kind of put up a force field against the influence of the lower frequencies that
The
we're
devil.
bombarded with.
Call him by
Yeah,
the
yeah.
devil.
Yep, yep, yeah. Not today, right? Not
Right.
today.
Mm,
And so it's just that spiritual hygiene that we do every day. It's just
mm.
like physical hygiene. You brush your teeth, you take a shower, and we need to do that same kind of thing in the words of scripture. Put on that full armor
That's
to
right.
really gird ourselves for what we're going to face in the world.
All right. You tell him. You tell him. Absolutely. So your coaching clients, who are you
Mhm.
looking for? What person, where do they need to be in this
Yeah.
stage in their life to be ready to work with someone like you?
So primarily people who have experienced or are experiencing some sort of dramatic change. Those are typically people who are going to be looking and searching. So things like divorce, marriage, death, birth, uh, job loss, job change, those big things that we all go through at some point. And I've been through them all. And also, I call it life creep, when you just wake up one day and wonder what happened with your life. Those moments, like I said, is this all there is?
Right.
There's got to be
What
more
is my
to it.
purpose?
Yeah,
I work with
exactly. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
work with an amazing coach. She's it's called Life Spider System. Her name is Brigitte Grenström. She's from Sweden.
Ah,
And I call her a ego coach because she has taught me, and I don't work with coaches, or I've never, up to this point, worked with a coach for 2 years. Usually it's like 6 months, and I suck it up like a straw and keep it moving, going for a tune-up every now and then. But it's ever evolving with her. And she says that you don't just have one life purpose, you have 6. And in those 6 different life purposes, you have to understand uh, what your purpose is, what your desire is, what your motivation and inspiration is, but also how to learn to love and nurture the ego, because the ego is really the gateway to the soul.
yes.
And finding out what that purpose is and how to manage it, where you're deficient in some areas, feed it. Where you are over exasperated in another, pull back. But you have to know how to do it, because if you don't, it'll be like a suppressed can. It'll just explode. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If we're not expressing it, it's going to come out in some way or another, and we're probably not going to like how it comes out. And so that's part of the practice, to understand, to reconnect with those parts that we're disconnected from. I have a program, I call it Reclaim Your Shadow, where we reconnect and integrate with those parts of ourselves that we tend to compartmentalize and cut off. And it's not only the things like anger and sadness and fear and guilt and shame, it's the good things like creativity and intuition that we get suppressed because we're told it's not okay. Good girls don't do that, or good people don't do that. And brains, this, you've experienced this, I'm sure yourselves, and as we connect with those parts and integrate all of those into our complete self, then we can really truly express the joy that's within us.
But people don't like to be naked.
No,
They
no.
want to be closed. They want to be
Yeah.
covered up. They want to hide. They want to shield. But I was telling another one of my guests the other day, I did that. I just took off all my clothes and stood in front of the mirror for about 30 minutes and took a real good look.
Yeah.
Looked at the toenails, got a mirror, looked at my back, looked at the scars, all that. And then the last 10 minutes, I sat there and looked just in the mirror, and I cried. I cried like a baby.
Yeah.
And it was so freeing. It was so cleansing. Because I remember the Reverend Al Sharpton telling me one day, we were at an event and I was putting on my makeup and he was standing behind me. And I looked in the mirror and I said, Reverend Al? And he goes, yeah. He said, well, baby, he said, can I give you some advice? And I said, yes. He said, that mirror that you're looking in, he said, it's not just for your reflection. It's also a place to make corrections. And when I did that, those goosebumps are back. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I felt like I had walked through a door, like I was, in the middle of a meditation. It was really something that was awakening. But on the other side of that is so much to explore in the subconscious mind.
Yes.
People are dealing with the frontal lobe, Sallie, where your judgments are already formed, your information is processed, you think you've got the answer to everything. How do you encourage people to go deeper? They're afraid.
So, I mean, because that's where everything is, right? In those lower levels of consciousness and different levels of consciousness, perhaps. And one of the things to do is to start to ask questions. I call it mind apps, paradigms programming, but if you think about an app on your phone or your other device, and it's pre-programmed to do certain things. And those apps drain the battery on your phone when you've got a lot of them running. They have competing purposes. They slow things down. They do the same things in our minds. So we have all these competing programs, these competing purposes, and they're not us. We got them from society and family and the world telling us to do a certain thing and be a certain way, and it truly is not us. And when we start to ask questions about all of those things, then we can peel off the layers of that infinite onion and and begin to discover who we are,
Absolutely.
not who we've been told to be.
So when you came to this realization, are you married?
Yes.
Okay. Was your spouse immediately on board? Were you in sync? Because, when I came to my realization, my husband was like, who's first? Because the epiphany doesn't hit everybody at the same time.
No, exactly.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't affect you the same way.
Right.
No?
Yeah.
Was he immediately on board with this?
Yeah. He's by training and education, he's a chiropractor. He doesn't practice anymore, but not a straight chiropractor. He did a lot of alternative medicine kind of stuff, and so he was all into energy and energy approach to the nature of reality. So it was not shocking to him when all of these things started to change.
Well, my husband is square as a pool table and just as green. Okay. And he is a very rule oriented military man.
Yeah.
And he was like, but he was open to the idea. So I say this, be open to explore it. And then he started to see things happen, and he started to see things shift, and he started to see the things that I would manifest, they would come to fruition. And his mouth is like, and now when I'll do something or I'll say something or I'll want something or I'll create something. And I was like, oh my God, I said, I can't believe it. And he goes, I don't know why not.
Yeah.
So it takes people time to settle in.
Yeah, it does. And, I think my experience is it has deepened and it broadened, improved our relationship. I feel it's improved my relationships with everyone, and most especially with myself.
Exactly. And self is what's important, because, we didn't come here 2 by 2. We came here singular.
Yeah.
And we all have our own personal journey that we have to go through. So let's ask Sallie Wagner some fun questions. How about that?
Okay.
What are 3 things that you absolutely cannot live without?
Oh golly. Um, I love to drink club soda. So
Really?
I don't drink other types of sodas, but I love club soda. I like the fizz of it. So
Really? Okay, would you put it with a little piece of lime or just straight club soda?
just straight club soda.
Wow.
That's it. That's one of my. I suppose if I have a guilty pleasure, that would be it. I would say learning in whatever capacity, whether it's a book or an online article. Learning is so vital for me, and then just that spiritual growth. You know, when I think of times in the past where I kind of got off that path, it was not a happy existence.
Mhm.
And now I have discovered or rediscovered, I suppose, reclaimed such joy in my life. So I would say those things.
I love that term. I'm going to have to copy that. Spiritual hygiene. Absolutely. I love that. That's beautiful. What brings you the greatest joy? Not your husband, not the work that you do, but just what is a guilty pleasure outside of that club soda? What brings you joy?
Outside of club soda. I would say my family, my kids, my grandkids. I have a dear friend from college. She and I reconnected after decades of being out of touch, and so just those kinds of connections are so important.
What brings you to tears?
Uh, Sometimes just the sorrow in the world, and sometimes those feelings can be overwhelming.
They can, absolutely. If you could time travel, what period would you land in?
Oh wow. So I love history. I love all different times in history. I would say perhaps early second to third centuries in Europe, in someplace like that, just because there was so much going on at the time, and it was such a time of upheaval when you had and I won't get too far afield. My husband is from Germany, so you had those people who were indigenous to the land. You had the Romans coming in. You had new religions fighting with the old religions. I mean, it was just such a time of perhaps surface level chaos, and yet so rich in thoughts and things that were happening in the world. It's a fascinating time for me.
I'm futuristic. I want to be in the year 3000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I want to see what is going on from a helicopter view. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If
Wow.
you were a flower in the garden, Sallie Wagner, what flower would you be?
Bird of paradise.
Oh, I love those. I have them all in my yard.
Yeah, I do too.
Love them. They're very unique. I love the way that they grow, and they don't die. You see some plants die, they always bloom. They always come back. So that
Yeah.
tells a lot about your testament.
Yeah.
If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
Probably an air fryer. I use my air fryer every day, it seems, and it's so versatile. So I like to think that I'm versatile. I can cope and address whatever situation arises.
That's beautiful. I want to be the refrigerator. I just want to chill.
There you go. I love that.
If you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Ah, I would be an eagle, just because the idea of flying and that vision, that focus, and the clarity of vision, just to see those details. I would love that.
That's beautiful. And finally, what do you want your legacy to be, Sallie Wagner?
Oh, I think about, what impact am I bringing to the world, and those around me, and that's part of my mission, vision, purpose statement, my overall life strategy. I would want to say the impact I want is for people to have lived better because of me, whatever that means to them.
Well, that's beautiful. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you, get more information. Do you also have a copy of your book there with you, Courtney? Wow, look at that. Leadership Without Borders.
Yeah.
When did you publish that?
This came out last year, and it was like summer-ish. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. What was your thought process in creating that?
So I'm a contributing author. It's an anthology, and we were exploring the notion of leadership and what that means. And the approach that I took is leadership as an inward journey first, and to get rid of those borders that we have in our minds of limiting beliefs, the things that hold us back. And so that was what my approach was. And also in terms of personality development, faith development, spiritual development, moving through those different stages to reach that highest level where we are without borders, where we see the unity of all of being, and we're not separated or segregated by borders of country, borders of cities and towns, and all those kinds of things.
Beautiful, beautiful. So are you going to give us just a sneak peek of what you wrote?
Oh, yes. Let me find it. I had it here.
That's okay. It takes a lot to contribute to an anthology, and just to put your words down. I encourage you, brains, to journal. I have fallen off. I'm not as consistent as I have been, but when I get that pen in my hand and get that journal, it's just endless. And you don't have to have any rhyme or reason. You can do a brain dump. You can think, put down everything that you wish for, that you wanted for, that you're sorry for, and then look back on there again, like that mirror, for that place of reflection.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think journaling is such a fabulous thing to do.
It is.
So I will read the very end of my chapter because I talk about a new vision for a new leader. As we envision the new leader based on these guiding factors, we catch glimpses of a person whose source of authority is internal and informed by collective wisdom. A person who gleans wisdom and lessons from their own experiences as well as the experiences of others. A person who explicitly examines life, questioning and analyzing their own meaning and value system, their own faith. And then I go on at the very end. This is the person who embarks upon that lonely, lonesome inward journey. This is the person who breaks through the borders of their own mind. This is the person who leads us into that golden future that awaits us. Our leader, our future. This is you.
Sounds like freedom to me, Brains.
Yeah, absolutely.
My mentor told me the other day, she says, are you afraid to be free or are you free to be afraid?
Yeah.
So we have to make that choice. Again,
Yeah.
tell us how to get a copy of that book, your other books, and to work with you, Sallie
Yeah.
Wagner.
So this and all of my books you can find on Amazon. You can check out my author page. It's Sallie Wagner, Sallie Wagner. There's another Sallie Wagner on there, different from me. And you can check out my website at Sallie, Sallie Wagner.com. And my email address is swagner, WAGNER, at SallieWagnerEnterprises.com. I'm happy to provide a lot of free ebooks that accompany some of the books that I've written.
Well, if you are looking to raise your level of consciousness, to come into your own with a person that loves to drink club soda, that loves learning, that is really into spiritual growth, that adores her family and wants to soar like an eagle, there she is, right there, Sallie Wagner. Thank you so much for being here on The Edge. Brains, you know, you owe it to yourself. Do better than you're doing. We can always improve. Thanks so much for being here on The Edge. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye, Brains.